Hi everyone. So in this final tutorial of this lesson, we're going to go ahead and go inside this animal class here, and we're going to actually add some instance methods. So far you've been introduced to instance variables, right? But now I'm going to introduce you to the instance method. So what is the instance method? Instance method is actually a method that is going to be called only on the instances or the objects that we actually create from that specific class. So here we are inside this animal class, and when you create an instance method inside this class, this method is only going to be called on the instances of type animal. So let's create some methods here. So inside this animal class, and before the ending curly brace of this animal class here, so if you remember, we actually deleted the namespace of this class here, of this project actually. We only have the class. This is the starting curly brace, and this is actually the ending curly brace. So let's actually go inside the curly braces of this animal class. So before the ending curly brace of this animal class, I can create a method. So the access modifier of this method is going to be public because I want other classes to access this method. And now I'm going to actually specify a return type for this method. So remember, in order to create a method in C#, first you need to specify the access modifier of that method. And then you need to specify the return type of this method. So what is a return type? Our return type is actually the value that is going to be of a specific type that this method must return. Right? So we have some actually return types in C#. I'll talk more about them later. For now, I want to introduce you to the void. What is void? Void means nothing, right? And when you actually specify the return type of a method to void, this means that this method is going to return nothing. That's it. It's going to just do something. It's not going to return anything. And after specifying the return type of this method, we need to specify the name of this method. So now we need to specify the name of the method. So the name is going to be increase age, right? And now I put a pair of parentheses here at the end of the method name. So make sure that you always, when you call the method or when you actually create a method in C#, you must always put a pair of parentheses at the end of the method name so that it indicates that it is actually a method. So inside the parentheses, we can actually specify that this method is going to accept a parameter. So actually the data type of the parameter is going to be integer, and the name is going to be age value, right? And then open and close this method by using these curly braces. An opening curly brace followed by a closing curly brace. This is actually called the body of the method, right? So let's go inside the body of this method, inside the curly braces of this method, and here I can create an if statement. So if, and then I put a pair of parentheses. So here inside the parentheses, I need to specify the condition. So here I want to actually make sure that the argument value. So what is the difference between argument or parameter? So when you create a method and when you specify that this method accepts a parameter, you are going to actually give it the name of parameter. But later, when you call this method and when you actually want to pass a value to this method, actually as the argument. So the difference is that the argument is actually the actual value, right? So arguments are actual values. So here inside the parentheses of this if statement, I can say if age value argument is actually greater than 0. So I want to make sure that whatever class that actually uses this method actually passes a valid value that is greater than 0. And then open and close this if statement by using these curly braces. And here inside the curly braces of this if statement, I can refer to the name of the age property. So age assignment operator. So let me tell you that whenever that you want to actually assign a value to your age property, the setter method of this age property is going to be called. So let me actually show you the age property here. So this is the age property, right? And we said that actually the setter is actually private. Private means that only the instance variables or only the constructor or the methods of this animal class can access this setter, not any other classes. So it is actually private, but because we are still inside this class and we are inside the instance method, we can use this setter. So here inside this increase age method and inside this if statement, when I say age assignment operator, and whenever I want to assign a value to this age property, the setter method of this age property is going to be called. So you are already familiar with that, right? So age, and then again I am going to refer to the name of this age property. So now I want to access the value of this age property. So when you want to access the value of this age property, the getter method of this age property is going to be called actually the getter accessor, right? And then I can say plus, so the name is increase age, right? Plus age value, only if the age is actually greater than 0. If the age is equal to 0 or it is actually less than 0, this if statement is not going to be executed and it is going to be actually skipped, right? And this means that this method is not going to be actually executed. Actually, it is going to be executed, but it's going to do nothing because the condition here evaluates to false if the age value, which is going to be the argument, is less than 0 or equal to 0. So now let's go to the actually phone1.cs file inside this phone1 class, and inside this btn show result underline click method here, I can actually access that method. I can say lion. So this is actually an instance method, right? This means that we must call this method on an instance of type animal. So lion, this is actually an instance of type animal, right? Dot. So here, let me actually show you. Let me give you a very important actually description about this line of code here. For example, here you can see that I specified the data type of this variable actually, and the name is lion. This lion is the name of the variable that is of type animal, but the actual object is going to be created here when you say new animal. Here, the actual object of type animal is going to be created with these values that you pass here, for example, the name, the power, speed here, right, the age. And this object, when it is created, it is going to be assigned to this lion variable of type animal, right? This lion holds an object of type animal. So when I say lion object, I am referring to this object that is assigned to this lion variable. So now I can say lion or lion instance or lion variable or lion object dot, and I can call that method increase age. And then I can put a pair of parentheses because this method accepts an argument, right? An actual value. So you can see here, this description, it says this method accepts an argument of type integer and its name is age value. So the value could be, for example, 4, semicolon. 4 is an integer value, semicolon. And now we are going to add 4 values to the age value of the lion. So now here there is actually an inconsistency. I wanted to let you know about that here, that you can see that our method name starts with a lowercase letter. In C#, we do not actually start our method names with a lowercase letter. Look at these methods here, for example, look at this parse method. It starts with a capital letter, right? So we should actually solve these inconsistencies. Let's go to the animal class and let's change this lowercase letter to an uppercase letter. Let's replace this lowercase I to an uppercase I. Increase age. This is very important. And let's go to the phone1 class and let's also replace this lowercase I with an uppercase I. So now it is good. Now I want to actually go to the phone1.cs design here. Now I want to add another label here. So let's open the toolbox. At the top menu, just click on view and then click on toolbox here. So now we have the toolbox. Now let's actually find a label here. Just search for a label and drag this label and just release it here inside this form. So this is our label, right? And let's actually open the properties. I can just right click in an empty area here, just click on properties, or you can actually find it here inside this view. And now you can see here, the F4 is the shortcut key for in order to access the properties window. And here, just select this label. So for the name attribute of this label, let's actually just type in here LBL, for example, increased age, right? And then press an enter key on your keyboard. So let's go to the phone1.cs file. Let's go to the phone1 class. Let's close this properties window and this toolbox window here. Now, after this line of code that actually calls this increased age on this line instance, I can say LBL increased age dot text. So I'm going to call the text property of the LBL increased age assignment operator. Now I can assign the value of the age property of this lion instance to the text property of this LBL increased age. So I just need to refer to the name of this lion instance dot, and then I can actually refer to this age property So just type in here age. And then because this is, as you can see, it's showing us an error, right? Just put a semicolon at the end of your statement. It's going to show us an error, and it says that cannot implicitly convert type int to string. So when you access the age property, you're going to call the getter of this age property, the getter accessor actually. So the age property is going to be of type integer, and we must assign a value of type string to this text property of this LBL increased age. So in order to assign the age value of this lion to this text property, we need to convert this integer value to a string value. The simplest way in order to convert an integer value to a string value in C# is just to use actually the concatenation operator. So just put a plus operator and then put 2 quotes here. So this means concatenating, right? We are concatenating this integer value to a string, actually with a string value, with an empty string value here. So it is going to be converted to a string value, right? Now the error is gone. Let's run our application and let's see what happens. So now you can see that our application is actually running here. Now I want to actually click on this. Let's actually pass some values here. For example, the name could be tiger here, or the name is going to be lion, right? And the age is going to be, for example, 27. The power is going to be, for example, 30. The speed is going to be 20. And now let's click on show me the result button. And here it says the lion, the name is lion, age 27, power 30, speed 20. And we have the 31 here. So this 31 is the value of this LBL increased age, right? So it actually added 4 values to the value of the age property. So the age is 27, right? 27 plus 4 is 31. So you can see this value here. So we provided this value 4 here, right? And now let's actually pass an invalid value to this method. Let's actually pass, for example, -2. So let's actually stop the program. Let's pass -2 to this method, for example, here. Now if I run the application, and now, for example, again, let's pass some values here. Lion, age, for example, 1, power, for example, 35, speed 20. Let's click on this button, show me the result. Now you can see that the animal lion is name is lion, age 1, but you can see that because we passed an invalid value to this method, -2, this if statement is not going to actually allow actually invalid values to be assigned to this age property. So you can see the value that we assigned inside this text field. So that's it. In the next tutorial, we're going to actually add two more methods to this class. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please post the discussion in the course, and then I do my best to answer all of your questions.